JD and Usha Vance have the model conservative marriage. They can't seem to stand each other. It's 2025 and some people still think that unhappy couples should stick it out. I'm Amanda Marcotte and I say ditch that baggage. Welcome to Standing Room Only. I am far from the first person to wonder if Vice President JD Vance and his wife Usha don't like each other very much.
Here's the thing, because the cameras are all on, anything that I say, no matter how crazy, Usha has to smile and laugh and celebrate it.
Making fun of their marriage is a sport on social media, like this clip from comedian Suzanne Lambert.
So they were fighting at dinner, which, like, number one, messy. But apparently, Usha said, this is what our life should actually be like. And he, to no surprise to anyone, was just like a little meager beaver, like, me, I know. Which confirms a few things that we already know. One, Usha wants absolutely nothing to do with this. Two, JD wants absolutely nothing to do with this. And three, JD Vance is a little bitch.
Calling JD a little bitch is pretty spectacular. This being a journalistic outfit, we can neither confirm nor deny the veracity of these rumors. We don't need the gossip though. We can see with our own eyes. They act like they loathe each other. Last month, Meghan McCain hosted Usha for what was supposed to be the softest of softball interviews. It wasn't politics talk, just all personal stuff about life as the second lady. Usha clearly understood the assignment. She was there to say she loved leaving her career as a high-powered attorney so she could do mind-numbing events. But her acting chops weren't up to it. Instead, audiences were treated to a 1-hour hostage video as Meghan tried to get Usha to feign interest in her own life.
No one's ever called me ma'am before this. I mean, frankly, no one ever called me Mrs. Vance before this, right? Mrs. is not a title that 30-year-olds often get called.
Yeah.
Let's see what else.
Despite her mission to convey satisfaction, the longer Usha talked, the more miserable she seemed. When Meghan asked her if she wanted to be First Lady, Usha said she just wants to go home.
I'm not plotting out next steps or really trying for anything after this. And in a dream world, eventually I'll be able to live in my home and kind of continue my career and all those sorts of things.
And by home, she means Cincinnati. How sad are you when you're like, in my dream world, I just want to be in Cincinnati. And she basically admitted that JD didn't involve her in the decision to run for vice president.
When we first found out, it was maybe 5 minutes before it was made public. There was really no opportunity for reflection or anything like that. So it's only at a remove that I realized how much changed.
I had a relative once whose husband came home and was like, "Hi, honey, I enlisted in the Air Force." And she straight up divorced him the next day. That's how you react to that. This was supposed to be a girl talk interview with cute little love stories for the audience to coo over. Meghan tried to get Usha to describe the passionate romance between the Vances. It didn't work.
Our first date was just hanging out. Mm-hmm. We watched a movie together and, then our second date was probably eating in the law school cafeteria.
Super sexy.
We were just sort of around each other at all times.
Meghan McCain's just like, please give me something. So Meghan resorted to asking about this story where JD learned to cook Indian food for Usha.
When we met, JD didn't know how to cook a thing, but he kind of took it as a challenge when he realized that I was vegetarian. He just had no idea what a vegetarian diet would look like. The first place that he went was actually to my mom to learn how to make some of the dishes that I enjoyed, because some of his experiments had not gone that well before that.
Okay. That's genuinely sweet, but then she said he doesn't cook for her anymore.
He's now mostly transitioned to baking. That's his thing. He makes amazing biscuits, which is a type of food that I didn't particularly love until I met him, and then I realized how good they could be.
Here at Standing Room Only, we try not to feel sorry for Meghan McCain, but look, I do YouTube interviews myself. That's my nightmare, having a guest who is an emotional black hole sucking all the life out of your viewers. Luckily for you, my guest for Pass the Mic is Scaachi Koul, and she will give you life. Usha just sounds sad and bitter. JD Vance sounds miserable, but he's also a bastard about it. He runs down Usha all the time in public.
It is, of course, the birthday of the President of the United States, and happy birthday, Mr. President. But I would get in trouble if I didn't mention
that it's also my wedding anniversary.
Or he uses her as a prop for his culture war drama, such as when he took her to the Kennedy Center, knowing full well how the crowd would react.
They ruined this place. Boo! Boo! Boo!
But the most disturbing example, to me at least, was how he used his speech at last year's Republican National Convention to celebrate erasing her identity.
But when we allow newcomers into our American family, we allow them on our terms. That's the way we preserve the continuity of this project from 250 years past to hopefully 250 years in the future.
The implication isn't subtle. Usha is expected to subsume her South Asian identity into his family's whiteness. He's not into this whole multiracial democracy thing. This is classic blood and soil fascist rhetoric. His view of America is as a homeland for white people like himself, and a small number of immigrants are allowed, but only if they give up who they are. JD also seems to think that marriage and parenthood should be mandatory for nearly everyone. He speaks about both, mostly in terms of duty, as if he can't imagine somebody would want to do these things. He was only married to Usha for 7 years when he denounced people who leave marriages because they're unhappy.
My grandparents had an incredibly chaotic marriage in a lot of ways, but they never got divorced. I was personally, and a lot of the kids in my community grew up in my generation, personally suffered from the fact that a lot of moms and dads saw marriage as a basic contract, right? Like any other business deal. And this is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. So we've run this experiment in real time, and what we have is a lot of very, very real family dysfunction that's making our kids unhappy.
Look, I'm a child of divorce, and it was much better to be raised by people who were happy apart instead of miserable together. What's darkly funny here is JD is blaming his dysfunction on growing up in a broken family, but it's his fault that he's choosing to stay in a marriage even if he's miserable in it. The rest of us learned a smarter lesson from that. Don't waste your one precious life on a relationship you don't want. And when it comes to parenthood, JD also participates in that grand right-wing tradition of psychological projection.
When you have kids in your life, and the fact that so many people, especially in America's leadership class, just don't have that in their lives, I worry that it makes people more sociopathic and ultimately our whole country a little bit less less mentally stable.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made. If you want to experiment on somebody's kids, Kamala Harris, AOC, and so forth, have your own kids.
Crazy cat ladies. Cat ladies fuck, you don't know. Spay your cats and dogs, but not your cat ladies. At a certain point, he's so mad at childless women that you have to assume he's jealous. Especially since the way he talks about his own kids is so weird. He barely seems to understand that they are his children.
My wife had this baby 7 weeks before she started the clerkship.
She's got 3 kids. Obviously, I help with the kids, but because I'm kind of the one going to church, she feels like more responsibility to keep the kids quiet.
He's like, I don't know where this woman and her kids came from. God, they're noisy, aren't they? JD and Usha aren't unique. On the right, it's very normal to talk about marriage as something you endure rather than enjoy.
Actually forcing us to do something together that makes us think, that makes us talk, that gives us something that we're sort of thinking about and talking about at the exact same time. That's been very good.
They act as if men and women have nothing in common and are forced by a merciless God to live together anyway. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of people, even straight people, see their partner also as a friend. And if you don't have that, well, it's better to be single than live with somebody that you hate. I don't know what goes on privately between the Vances, but what we see in public sucks. If that's what JD Vance thinks marriage is all about, he shouldn't be surprised if women say, thanks, I'll choose cats instead. You don't really have to choose. I have both. My guest today is Scaachi Koul. She is a multifaceted talent. She's the host of Scamfluencers podcast. She's the author of Sucker Punch, and she's a senior writer at Slate. And it's Sucker Punch.
It's the theme.
Yes.
Everywhere I go, I sow some marital discord. Somebody gets divorced. I get a little taller. I always say that my ass gets a little fatter every time a woman leaves her boyfriend. I'm like, oh, thank God.
That's amazing. Yeah, so Sucker Punch, it's a book about many things, but about getting divorced.
Yeah.
But importantly, why divorce is so freeing.
Divorce is really good for people. I think there's generally an agita about things ending. People have a really hard time viewing a conclusion of something as anything other than a failure, and we're so conditioned into thinking that marriage should be forever, and it's designed like that, which it isn't. It's designed often for subjugation. Unfortunately, that's like the root of it for women. Despite our best efforts, there's nice versions of it. Maybe you will end up together, but leaving is such a gift. Being able to leave is such a gift. And they are trying to take away no-fault divorce from us. We need it more than we ever have.
Yeah, of all the things I never thought I would see come back into the political, maybe some part of me thought, because I was always those like manosphere guys who were so mad about being divorced.
Yeah.
I was like, one day these guys are going to start circling around the idea that you shouldn't be allowed to divorce them.
Honestly, that one is so absurd to me. It didn't occur to me. I'm shocked every day. And I think it's nice that I've maintained the capacity to be shocked for now.
Well, because I felt like there was a consensus in American society for decades that divorce is good for both men and women, if you need it. I mean, it's like surgery.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good for men. I don't really care. But I do think it's good for women. I mean, women index as happier after they get divorced. Their other relationships index as much more satisfying and fulfilling. They have better sex. They make more money. Like, there are real economic, personal, and emotional and familial benefits for women when they get divorced. I don't know for sure what the data is for men, but I have a feeling it doesn't trend in the same way. I've never met a woman who's gotten a divorce and been like, I regret it. I've met a lot of men who have left their wives and are like, maybe that wasn't the move. It turns out I am worthless.
Yeah, I needed to do something else with my life, pick up a workout routine or something, but not leave her.
Yes, yeah. Therapy, men would rather do anything except go to therapy.
Well, honestly, I'm sold. You've convinced me on divorce. Mm-hmm. This episode is about JD and Usha Vance. We don't know that they want to get divorced. Yeah. And I'm not here to make apologies for Usha Vance, even though some of the clips of her make me very sad.
Yeah.
But it is true that there's just no way around it. When they started their marriage, she was this high-powered attorney. It seemed that was what he was into. Then he converts to Catholicism, and now he's running around talking about how marriage should be traditional. And at the same time, he's managed to find a way to get her out of her job as a high-powered attorney and make her do events where she talks about kids reading all day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's time-honored tradition for women in high-powered jobs whose husbands decide to run for office. I mean, I don't know. Did Michelle Obama want to spend much of her prime working years trying to get a bunch of fucking kids to eat carrots? Like, I don't know. I don't think that's what she thought about when she was spending $200,000 to go to a very fancy school that I can't remember the name of because I'm Canadian and we don't know anything about your colleges. They sound nice.
Harvard.
Whatever. Where's that? Boston? But I mean, that's pretty common. I don't feel sorry for her. You can't say one or the other, that either she was capable of this amazing career because she's so educated and so self-possessed and so smart and so, above all of this nonsense. And she's this shrinking violet that this 5'8" guy was able to wrangle out of her job and trick her into this life of subservience for the government. I just don't buy it. I can make room, certainly, for women who have to make decisions because they're in an abusive marriage or whatever else. We don't know that that's what's happening here. Frankly, all of her decisions suggest that she is kind of on board with how her husband governs and how he functions and what he says. She might not love it, but marriage is compromise. But it's also a decision. Every day you wake up and you are making a decision to stay married. And she is making that decision every day. Divorce is hard. Staying is way harder.
Yeah, and I think I can imagine if I was going to be a little sympathetic, I agree with you entirely, but if, just a devil's advocate, being the second lady and living this like cloistered lifestyle where you're surrounded by security, just the psychology of it, you might actually feel like you don't have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, but she did up until, like, she did every day, right? Like, when he was running, she had choices. She's had decisions. I'll also say, like, who doesn't really feel sorry for Usha Vance? Brown women. This is a real like white lady thing, genuinely, that I find like a lot of white liberals are really anxious about her positioning.
Interesting.
I do not feel anxious about it. I see her, I think clearly. Like, I got it, girl. Like, we disagree, but I got it. And I don't think we need to make allowances for her like that. She's smart.
Yes.
She's very smart. She might not be great on TV, which is, I think, what you're reacting to. And I get it. Like, watching those are like, oh, girl. Or it feels like she's being held hostage.
Yeah.
She probably is uncomfortable with a lot of this attention, but, like, look at her career. Like, it hasn't been like, she wasn't burning her bras and, like, escorting women through Planned Parenthood riots, or, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what she's been doing.
Yeah.
And, like, even in her position as a South Asian woman, it tracks. Like, there's lots of South Asian women who have those kinds of politics, who are married to white men. I was married to a white guy. I know the routine. Like, there is like a different negotiation you have to make, certainly with your racial politics and that dynamic. But like, every day she's making a choice.
Do you think that there's some racism in the way that like a lot of white liberals are seeing her as this pitiful figure?
I think the pitifulness is just gendered. I think like we want to look at women and be like, oh, is she okay? Like that's our garbage nature.
Yeah. And she definitely doesn't want that.
No, she's not. She
even when she
need it.
was complaining about her life on the video clips that we had, she's coiled up like.
And that's like a first lady thing. Like they all seem like they are just being squeezed in a vice. It seems like a terrible job, but like. Whatever, girl. Like, again, like, you have made decisions, but I think the racial stuff is, it's sort of like it's like the simplicity of representation politics of people being like, well, his wife is brown, so surely that will temper some of this. It won't. Trump's wife is an immigrant.
Yeah.
Right? And we just found out, came here
they
under...
both kind of hate their wives, so maybe it's making it worse. Like,
so that's like the quiet factor of all of this, is people who say that are like, you don't know that men kind of hate their wives? Like, that's like the number one person they hate. So the race stuff, I think, is just people's kind of... I understand it, though it's flawed. Hopefulness that, like, this will help soften...
Yeah.
Pam Bondi...
Yeah.
It's not making me feel maternal.
Yes.
Or tended to. Like, this is just the failure of that kind of ideology, which I fall trapped to it all the time, too, because you want to be hopeful, because there isn't a lot to sort of hold to.
Yeah, I grew up in the South and in Texas, and I can say straight up that the worst enforcers of the patriarchy were sometimes women.
Yeah.
They were just the mean-ass church ladies were the worst.
Yeah.
Everyone had hated them the most.
Yeah, and I mean, South Asian people, especially, in terms of like her family background, which I have a vague idea, like, we have also been complicit in a lot of those kinds of oppressions. Like, we play those games too. And we play model minority so well, and in almost every country. So, like, that's not surprising either. It's not lost on me, you know.
Her parents
background.
are very high-powered professionals.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Very high-powered professionals. There's no shade to them.
No.
She comes from.
I mean, right. So, like, this isn't an idiot.
No, she is definitely
She's
not
a
an
dummy.
idiot.
Yeah.
She is definitely not an idiot. I think the racism pieces is really interesting because one thing I see a lot of people assuming, because there does seem to be tension between them, and I think a lot of people do assume that it is his racism, which seems to have gotten worse over the years. 'Cause
I'm sure it has.
Well, he was obviously happy to marry an Indian woman,
Yeah.
and now he's talking about how like immigrants are bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's objectively gotten worse, whether it's a performance or, maybe he just hates his wife and is like, maybe we shouldn't let Indians in.
But only the good ones.
Yeah.
Like that is the game I think that people play. You know, you see this a lot with people who like, there was that guy who voted for Trump, owned that burger joint, did like a Trump burger or whatever, and then he got deported. Like, there's a lot of that happening where I don't think people understand or understood fully when they say this rhetoric, they are sometimes talking about you, but you think it's all these other people. I'm sure he's having that kind of cognitive dissonance in his own head too, of like, but these are the good brown people, right?
Yeah.
They came here legally and they're from the good brown countries where we have good relationships with that prime minister.
Or they're at least
and
from the like good part of that country.
Yeah, you know, Hindus are not scary. Like, that's a different gig. That's part of it. But I don't know. I mean, has he gotten worse? I guess.
He seems to have.
Yeah.
But I personally don't think that she minds his racism. I have never gotten a single indication. Like, she complains about, obliquely, but she complains about the gender stuff.
Yes,
like,
because I think she wants to work.
She does not like that she lost her career.
I'm sure it sucks. I guess I have not really. I would love to have empathy for her on that because that does sound bad, but it's a decision.
It's a little easier with Michelle Obama because you like her, right?
Yeah, but I don't think she loved that gig. She didn't like it.
I think
she was really relieved when they were out. She
Yeah.
did not like the scrutiny. She did not like what it did to their children. I don't think she liked him. She's done interviews talking about how much she hated him during that period of time.
Yeah.
Right?
They keep running around doing interviews insisting that they're not getting divorced, which is like,
first of all, how lucky would we be if we got to watch them? It would be
great.
It would be fascinating.
I so agree. Like, I don't want them to get divorced if they don't want to get divorced.
No.
But
we live in dark times, and I think we deserve something.
The Obama divorce. First of all, fun.
Fun.
Second of all,
everyone's an adult.
Like, yeah, the way that it makes me sad when Michelle Obama runs out on these podcasts and says she doesn't want to get divorced, because I'm like, but what's wrong with getting divorced? Have we regressed this much that you just can't? It
was never, I think, that cool to be divorced for a woman. I don't think it was ever. I think we had a beautiful glimmering moment in the early aughts where it felt like everybody was getting a divorce.
If you were even bothering to get married.
Yeah, literally for any period of time. And then I think we kind of got into this trad wife thing, and now there's been a backslide, but I don't think it's ever been really popular. I mean, Hillary stayed.
I know.
Right?
I know.
And you know what? She would not have even been able to run had she divorced him.
Yeah.
Not because of how I feel about this. She should have left toot sweet. But that was the decision she made.
I often think in my dark moments or lighter moments of the first time that Hillary Clinton won her seat in as a New York senator, I watched her acceptance speech live on television, and it's such a great moment. People should find it. If she was standing there trying to give her speech, and Bill just kept encroaching on her physical space.
Seen it, yeah.
And she just was stand 5 feet away from me, sir.
He's like an ooze. Yeah. Yeah.
And I really hoped at that moment she would divorce him, and then she never did. And I do think what's sad is she couldn't have run for office if she had divorced him, but if she had divorced him and still managed to become the nominee, I think she would have won. I think people would have had more respect for her if she had divorced him.
I think that's maybe, but I think that underplays how much people hate women. And people hate women.
Yeah, you're probably right. Them. I would love somebody in one of these roles to just get a divorce. Just rip that Band-Aid off. It would be so fun. And yeah, like you said, it would give us all something fun to think about as opposed to just the dreary news cycle that we're engaged in.
Yeah, we deserve it.
And I do want to say it's important to understand that we can analyze that somebody's unhappy or that somebody's making sacrifices without pitying them.
Yeah, I have no pity for her, but I do recognize that these are decisions she's made. They're not decisions I would want to make, and it seems not fun.
Yeah.
But I have no pity for her. She doesn't want it. She doesn't need it. This is like, she's not.
We can learn from this. Don't do this to
Yeah,
yourself.
like this is not a weak person. She is perfectly capable of standing like shoulder to shoulder with her husband. She's not, this is not a dummy, and we don't need to treat her like one. She's also not going to be like an ethnic savior either.
No.
She's kind of nothing.
She is nothing.
Yeah.
In that sense. So this has been awesome. I want to end with a mic drop question with the full knowledge that she's probably not going to leave him, but with the full desire that we really would love to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
What would be the best way for Usha Vance to publicly announce her divorce from JD?
Publicly?
Yeah, you've got to do it publicly. You wrote about this in your book.
Yeah, of course. I think she should say absolutely nothing and then like go to a really awful flashy dinner in like LA, like go to Catch. It's 2014 in this version. Go to Catch. In like a little bandage, like a nude bandage dress, right?
Yes.
Full hair extensions, big old hubcap eyelashes. And she should go with like an unexpected date.
Jake Schlossberg, isn't that his name?
Oh, that would be demonic. And I do think you should do that if you're watching, and I'm sure you are. Make some calls. That's a good one. Yeah, like a much younger model, a woman.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be delicious?
Like that's the trend. Leave your husband, shitty husband for a woman.
Usha Vance in a bandage dress at Catch with Renee Rapp.
And this would be the best way to restart her legal career for sure.
You're not going to hire that lawyer? I'm hiring that lawyer. That is actually how I try to hire my legal representation. Yeah.
I think she would be like the hottest lawyer in New York City if she did that.
She would become everybody's divorce attorney overnight. Feel like you want to leave him? Call Usha. And it's just her in these giant shoes, little dress, big hair.
That's where the real
holding
money
a martini
is.
glass. Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we should
I turned her into a housewife in this version, also. Which is
JD Vance tried to turn her into a housewife.
Well, I do think being a real housewife is the only safe place for conservative women in America. So I think that's exactly where she should be. Put her on Potomac. Put her on Potomac, Andy. He watches this. He's got
amazing.
Nothing else going on.
Oh man, I've laughed so hard that my jaw hurts.
Good.
So we'll leave it with that. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Scaachi Koul. Her book is Sucker Punch. Read it. It's as funny as this interview when it's not sad.
Book's also sad when it's not funny.
And stick around for Encore. The song recommendation kind of follows this even better than I thought it would. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Hey everyone, I'm coming to you from Latchkey Records in Philadelphia. This is my partner's record store. The song choice of the week is Me and the Girls. It's by a band called Amyl and the Sniffers. I've vaguely mentioned them before. The album is called Cartoon Darkness. It's their third album. We have sold out of this album. It is so popular. We have other ones by them, but this third album is so popular, it has sold out, so that's all the more reason to check it out. It came out earlier this year. The lyrics are things like, me and the girls are getting drunk at the airport. There's jokes about free abortions and how the boys don't count anymore. It's a very feminist song. It's actually coded about like how women should rely on each other and not rely on male approval. There's a lot of feminist jokes in there. But it's also just sort of about having fun, partying, and being drunk at the airport, which is kind of one of the most fun places in the world to be drunk. And what I really like about Amyl and the Sniffers, they're an Australian punk band, and they really, like a lot of Australian punk bands, channel that AC/DC energy. They do not take themselves seriously. They're here to party. They're here to rock out. So the song is Me and the Girls, Amyl and the Sniffers, Australian punk band. Check it out. If you want more Standing Room Only episodes, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Standing Room Only started as a newsletter, and it's free to read. Click the link to subscribe. I love tips. These political battles are playing out in our local communities, your family, your school, your neighborhood. If you have a story, go ahead and drop me a line, leave it in comments, and don't forget to subscribe.